Well, it's time now for another edition of the Canalta Hotel's AJHL Coaches Show. We are in Spruce Grove, taking in the Inner Pipeline Cup finals between the Okotoks Oilers and Spruce Grove Saints. I'm Taylor Medak, and I'm pleased to be joined by Okotoks Oilers President of Business and Hockey Operations, Brad Robson. Brad, thanks a lot for joining me here before a big game in Spruce Grove. We'll set the table for Game 3 in just a bit. Your Oilers, a bit of a hole here, down 2-0 in the best-of-7 AJHL Championship Series. But for people who haven't seen the first two games, just kind of sum it up in what were two very close games where you guys could easily be up 2-0 as well.
Yeah, I think, and that's the way that, talking to the coaching staff in the meetings and all that, that's the way we're taking it, that, we're down 2-0, we're in a battle, and we knew we were going to be in a battle, and I think right from the very beginning in the series, we thought it would probably go 7 games, so I don't think it's for our hockey club, it's not over yet, and, we could be up 2-0, it could be tied 1-1, just, some of the bounces have gone their way, but they've worked for their bounces, and, they're a really good hockey club. They're very similar to our hockey club, and in the Alberta Junior Hockey League this year, the two best hockey clubs are battling it out in the AJHL finals, and it's going to be a good series. I think tonight's going to be a really good test for our hockey club. Being down 2-0, we have to come hard tonight. We got to set the pace, and we got to work on the special teams a little better, on the power play and the penalty kill, and I think it's going to be another barn burner. It's going to be a really good hockey game and be close, and I think it'll be a one-goal game.
Yeah, you could absolutely be right on that. Well, let's talk about your role with the Oilers. As I said, President of Business and Hockey Operations. It's your 3rd season with the Oilers, and in junior hockey, you wear multiple hats, it seems, for every team and the personnel that they have. Maybe just talk about the business side of things. What's it like working with a team that's from a small town? You're further enough from Calgary to not be considered like here in Spruce Grove and Sherwood Park, where you're a big city team. It's a small town team, and what are some of the pros and challenges maybe working with an environment that you have?
Well, the first year when I arrived, it was during training camp when I took the position, and so I really worked. We didn't have a business manager, so we had to do a bit of hiring along with myself, and we worked through things for the first year, and then last year we hired Kyle Schussler, who's the associate head coach, and this year's the assistant general manager. He works with me on the business side, and last year I was the general manager because we brought in Tyler Dice, and Tyler just let him concentrate on the hockey club last year and the direction that we were going and the type of hockey club that we thought we needed last year at the start of the year. So it's been a busy 3 years. The business sides were with the economy, Okotoks is a bedroom community of Calgary, and it's a lot of oil and gas and all that. So it was tough, but myself and especially Kyle Schussler, who's done a great job of getting out to the community and selling rink boards and wall boards and in the programs. He's been hard working out there, pounding the pavement, and then he runs back into the office at 1:30 in the afternoon, gets ready and prepares for practice. And then after, it's been busy days for everybody the last 2 years. We've doubled up on a lot of the positions that we had because of the economy and the money with the hockey club. So we're digging ourselves out of a hole, and it's all because of the Ryan Barrett's, the Mike Alchuk's our trainer, Tyler Dice and Kyle. They've all worked very hard the last 2 years, and I think a lot of their hard work, I think the players see that these guys are going 24/7, 10, 15-hour days, and I think when they see they're working hard, our players are working hard, and I think just because of the work ethic and character that our coaching staff has, we've gone out, and I think probably the best thing when I worked with Dallas, Bob Gainey had the best thing I've ever heard, and I've never forgot it, is character people hire characters. So.
That's a very good point, and certainly, we'll touch on your career with the Stars organization in just a bit. I want to ask you about Tyler Dice and the transition from bringing him on as an off-ice hockey personnel kind of guy, and then you move him to the bench, and he's got the GM hat as well. Just maybe talk about the job he has done and a little bit of the transition that you had from losing a guy like James Poole and then putting Tyler in power and getting you guys to a league final.
Well, in the first year I arrived, James Poole was the coach and had his coaching staff in place. And my first year here, I I watched everybody, and I did lots of review and looked at the way things are going. And we had Tyler in the development coach aspect for our hockey club, and was doing a really good job. And I had lots of conversations with Tyler throughout the year and in the first year. And then at Christmas time, first year, Kyle Schussler came up. His parents live in Okotoks, and he used to play for the Oilers, and was at Ohio State coaching down there. And I had conversations with him at the end of the year, after the first year. And both guys are teachers, and that reflects on our hockey club, not only on the ice, but in the dressing room. They're well educated. Tyler has 2 young kids, so he's able to relate, how our players are and his interaction with the players is really good. He runs a really good practice. It's fast-paced. We have lots of flow. Kyle steps in. He looks after the back end, our defense, and looks after the penalty kill and the power play. So it's been a good blend, and we brought in Ryan Barrett also last year, and Ryan has lots of experience coaching, being a head coach, in AAA in Calgary, and then coaching the Calgary Mustangs and the Calgary Canucks for like 10 plus years. So I think with Ryan's being around our hockey and his presence has helped both, because Kyle's coached NCAA and Tyler, coaching at the edge and all that. And then with our development program, it's been a really good blend, a really good mix for our hockey club, with the experience and the enthusiasm and the work ethic that all 3 have.
How much do you see, speaking of your coaching staff, guys that have been there? You mentioned Kyle coaching down at Ohio State, playing for the Oilers, and then Tyler, a guy went to Mankato, played pro, comes to you guys. How much does that resonate with players, you think, able to learn and be a part of a team with it being led by guys that have been there and done that route?
I think the one word, respect. And experience. They played junior hockey, all 3 of them. Ryan, Barry also. They played junior hockey. They've been on the bus. They've been in the dressing rooms. They've been out in the community, and they've taken that. And they all went to school, all went to college, and then from college, they've all moved into coaching. And it's just the effect that they have with our hockey club. They don't get too excited behind the bench, which I really like. They're pretty calm, and I think that reflects on the type of hockey club that, we don't panic when we get in tight situations. We stick to the task at hand. We stick to the game plan, and we just work and we grind. And if it doesn't work, then there is also some adaptation. But it's a really good mix of the 3 of them, and then Mike Elchuk, with his experience. He's our trainer and was here when I got here, and I knew Mike with the Calgary Hitman days and the Saskatoon Blades. So he brings a lot of experience and is well respected by the guys in the dressing room, both on the ice, on the bench, and in the community where we work. And that's the other thing, and talk about the community. Yeah. That's the one thing I really stressed and pushed when these guys all came into place last year, is the work that we have to do in the community. And we got all the players out, going to school, literacy week, Operation Keep Straight with the RCMP. So we got all our older guys, they're taking university courses, yes, but they're also working in the community. And our young guys, they're still in school, and it's kind of funny, they get out of school at 1:30, we practice every day at 2:30, and you look out in the parking lot at 1:45, and cars are coming into the parking lot, and they're running into the dressing room to change, to get ready for 2:30. And that's the other thing too, is like our hockey club practices go to 3:45, and you got the coaches trying to kick them out at 4:30, 5 o'clock. You got to get home to your billet houses, get a good meal. So it's a really good group, character kids. I have nothing but praise for the players that we have in that dressing room, and I know they're going to battle tonight, and I know they'll battle tomorrow, and we know we're in the battle because we're playing a really good hockey club.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One more kind of hockey business, then we'll get to some of those players. I mean, the life of a student athlete, certainly you get thrown right into it playing junior hockey. Playing at Northlands, having your team playing in the Northlands College season, I made this joke with Tyler when he was on. It was the first time a good Oilers team had played in that building in quite some time, and it kind of foreshadowed to what would be the AJHL final. Getting the opportunity to play the Saints at Northlands, from a business side, how much did that resonate with you?
That was huge, and players talking about it. The couple of days leading up to the game at Rexall was very something. And then, but the biggest thing was the weeks after. The guys were talking about going into the Oilers dressing room, playing the last game, you know, and how they would joke like, "Oh, who scored the last goal?" type, you know, in the rink. So it was huge for our hockey club, and we thank Rob Skurlock and Ryan Smith, you know, and the rest of the Saints organization for allowing our hockey club to experience something like that, because it's something that our players will take with them, and they'll never forget what happened that night. And once again, you know, we played them. It was a great hockey game that night.
It sure was. Let's get to some of the players that did play in that game and are playing right now for your squad. Tanner Latterroot, 69 points on the year, gets a commitment to, or a scholarship he commits to Minnesota Duluth, and he leads your team with 17 points heading into Game 3 of the Inter Pipeline Cup playoffs. Just maybe touch on Tanner's career, because you've been able to see him progress over the last 2 years and coming to you guys from Sherwood Park. He's really carved out quite the AJHL career and earns a scholarship to a big-time Division I hockey school.
Well, Tyler's really helped our hockey club this year through his age and experience, and you know, we're a young hockey club, and he's really come a long ways. And I knew Tanner before he even came in this league, because I invited him when I was with Lethbridge and general manager Lethbridge. I invited him to our hockey camp, and I remember sitting down with Tanner and saying, like, you know, which direction you want to go? And he says, I think I want to go to school. So he left, but I always remember that he was a player that I noticed at our training camp, and when he became available from Sherwood Park, we went after him right away, because I knew the type of hockey player from watching him play up here in Edmonton. And Tanner, he's a very fast hockey player. He's quick. He plays the game with a lot of pace. He has a lot of energy. His experience is something that's so invaluable. The way he works with our hockey club and the younger players, and he's got that scholarship this year for a reason, just because he's one of the top players in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if Brett Larson, who's now the head coach of St. Cloud State, regrets recruiting Tanner to UMD, because now he's down with with St. Cloud State. Okay, NHL draft rankings. The final rankings come out today from Central Scouting. You have a few players on that list, and most notably Jacob Bernard Docker, ranked 33 among North American skaters, and then Austin Wan and Ben Sanderson. Put your scouting cap back on for us. And quickly, we'll go through all three guys. What makes those guys on that list, to put it bluntly, and maybe more specifically, why Bernard Docker, the North Dakota commit, so high up, and maybe can squeak into the first round, certainly potential for second?
Well, Jacob Bernard Docker, his game is his skating quickness, his agility, he plays the game at a high pace, and probably the biggest thing, like I've talked to every NHL team, 31 teams, and the one thing, you know, they ask, what's his game? And this is probably the biggest thing for him, his biggest asset is his hockey IQ. He's such a smart hockey player. And I talked to another radio station down in Calgary the other day, and I said, you know, the biggest thing with Jacob is he's probably 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds ahead of the play. His anticipation of what's taking place when he has the puck or when he doesn't have the puck is at a different level. And I think that's why he's, you know, the National Hockey League, all 31 teams have spoken to him, and you know, his upside and potential for him is sky's the limit for him. He's a character kid. He works hard off the ice. You know, you get players on the ice, and when practice is over, he's working on the development skills that he needs to get better. And he works hard and comes from a great family, and I think he's going to go either really late in the first round or maybe early in the second round. But whoever gets him is getting a character hockey player that has tremendous upside.
And you're familiar with the Wang family. Austin going to Harvard. What makes him a guy that cracks the top 200 among North American skaters?
Well, I've known the Wang family for a long time. I had Tyler with me, and I drafted him with Lethbridge, and you know, he's playing in the American Hockey League, Chicago Wolves right now. So I've known the family for about 8 years, and their family, I don't know, if you look at the Wang, it probably shows character because it's an unbelievable family. The work ethic on and off the ice for all the brothers. Colton is second brother. Is just the same thing, and they work hard, they battle, they compete. All of them, and Austin, like, he doesn't take a shift off. Doesn't matter where he's playing, what rink he's in, he comes to battle and he comes to play hard. And he's a hard player to play against, and he's lots of improvement this year over last year with his, the skating's getting better, and that was the one area that he had to work on was the skating quickness, and he's getting better. And he, the drive and determination, and he scores a lot of dirty goals. He takes the puck to the net, and like I said, he competes the rink 200 by 85. Doesn't matter where he is, he's going to battle. And Ben Sanderson, I've known the Sanderson family too. Jeff Sanderson in the National Hockey League, and Ben has tremendous speed and quickness, and he's got a strong core, and He's a pro skater already, and his release is probably one of the best in the AJHL. His release and all that. And his confidence is growing since Christmas. He's starting to use his size and speed and quickness to get to the net, drive to the net, and he's starting to score goals for us. And in Game 2, he played with Latterroot and Huber on our #1 line, and he was an effective player in that game. And just because of his size, he's a big kid. And he's going to Colorado College, which is a really good school. And I think, down the road, he'll come back and play for us next year as Wang will. And then, development and all that. And he's going to be a really good player at the college level. And I think all three players have potential to play pro hockey after they finish school.
As a scout, and we just mentioned all the players that we talked about have commitments. You have a lot of commitments on your team going to the NCAA. Is there a little rhyme to the reason that scouts are going to go see the teams that are good, the teams that have players that are getting pumped up to the Division I level? Obviously, there's the saying too, if you can play, they can find you. However, is there a little bit of to that first statement that more scouts kind of do tend to go see teams that A, are good, and B, are putting players to the next level?
100%. And, and I've told the players in this dressing room, our dressing room, the Oilers dressing room, is that the farther we go, the more times you're going to get watched. The more times you get watched, the more comfortable scouts will get with your game, and you're probably going to move up in the draft. And everybody came to watch Jacob Bernard-Docker at the start of the year, and then guys started coming to me and saying, wow, this Wang's a pretty good player. He plays aggressive, he's strong on the puck, and he's just like his brother type stuff. And then guys started to come and say, Ben Sanders is pretty good. And even just taking it one step further, we've had a lot of clubs come and say, like, this Nick Blankenberg, well, what's his game, what's his story? And I've had NHL teams talking about Nick the last since the playoffs started. So the farther, I think that's, like I said, the farther we go, the more watches our players are going to get. The NHL teams are going to get comfortable, and the NCAA schools that are still watching and looking for players. We're playing hockey in April, and I've told the guys right from training camp, there's only one goal for our hockey club, and our goal this year was to play hockey in May, and it still is our goal.
Absolutely, and a lot of that is in part to some of the defensemen that you guys have. You have a good, obviously young guys on the back end, but a good veteran core. For you, that's been here a while. You've been with guys like a Carson Beers or Reese Sukharov, and then as well a guy like Kyler Wall, who you've acquired, but he's been a veteran in the league. Just how good is it to see guys that come through a system and now get a chance to play for a championship in their final years?
It's huge. We have players that are 20 years old, graduating this year from junior hockey, and this is their final kick at the cat, in junior hockey, and then they're all going to move on. And Nick Blankenberg is probably going to go to Michigan next year, and we may lose him. And some of the guys that maybe weren't on the radar, and with the way our hockey club progressed this year, and the guys were coming out, the schools and the NHL teams coming, like Carter Huber, getting a scholarship at Minnesota or North Dakota, I should say, is there's guys, and we still have guys that we're having conversations with the Div 1 schools, and I think it will continue here in the next little while. And I just tell the guys, it doesn't matter if there's 1 scout or 30 scouts, you know, from the National Hockey League or the Div 1 schools. All you need is one team to like you, and that's all it takes. And I'm really happy and satisfied with the way we've gone this year and the direction that we're taking this hockey club for next year. You know, we only lose 2 forwards, so we're going to have a good hockey club again next year and battle and compete. And all the experience that we've gained from these playoff runs in the Alberta Junior Hockey League this year made us a better hockey club this year and will make us a better hockey club next year. And there's a lot of guys that won't be here next year, but it's because of them that we are in the positions we are this year, and the position that this hockey club will be in next year is because of the guys that we had within our organization, the leadership and the character guys that we had.
You're set up in goal for next year, but right now, Rob Sklerk said maybe your team MVP in this series would be Riley Morris, your goaltender. He's been stellar for you, not only all year, but his entire career. You've seen a lot of goalies in your day. Where does Riley rank amongst the guys that you've seen and worked with? And there's a guy that, no commitment, might be down the road. You could see getting a deal down south. I
think he will get us something here in the next little while. Riley, he's a character kid. There's nobody that's more involved with our hockey club in the community than Riley. The way he commits himself to all the charities, the school functions, the SAFE, you know, the DARE program. He's one of the first guys that steps up to lecture for our hockey club, and the goaltending, the biggest thing in that his composure and consistency in the nets. He doesn't get rattled. If he lets one in, if you watch Riley, he just shakes it off. He gets to the top of that blue paint and gets ready for the next shot and prepares himself. And he's a leader in our hockey club. And if goalies could probably wear a letter, he definitely would have a letter with our hockey club last year and this year. And he's just a character kid.
He's certainly been a treat to watch over the years in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. He's had some big games against the Sherwood Park Crusaders, the team I'm used to calling games for, that's for sure. As a scout, and we've mentioned character, the word character, and your scouting career dates back a long time, I think even before I was born, so, or maybe even around that time, late 80s.
I started when I was 6.
Oh, there you go, fair enough. How long has character, because you're seeing it now, character is almost the #1 thing that scouts look for. How long has that been character, that first thing that coaches and scouts kind of try to dive into?
Well, for myself, I think it started, like, I scouted in, now I'm dating myself, the Western Canada Hockey League, you know, Brandon and Great Falls Americans. And then when I worked in the National Hockey League, I was so fortunate. My first 2-3 years in the National Hockey League, Bob Gainey was the coach, and Bobby Clark was the general manager. And I don't think there's Hall of Famers. They're probably two of the most character people. And when I used to go in the meetings, or scouts meetings, you know, I was just a sponge, because those two men they've carved my career just because they are. And there's other guys, Craig Button, Les Jackson, Doug Armstrong. They all have helped me, but those two gentlemen, every time we'd go into scouts meetings, they always ask, well, I know we can't measure the heart, but how big is this guy's heart? And you know, how much character does he have? And they look at the sheets we have, and they say, okay, it's a 2-2 hockey game, and we're talking about 2 players, and we're battling out all the scouts, you know, like which player is going to be ahead of which player. And Bob Gainey and Bobby Clark always says, well, it's a 2-2 hockey game, it's game 7. Which one do you want on the ice? Oh. And that's the way we do it. And that's the way I am, and I always have been moving on in my hockey career. And character is so huge to me. Leadership and, you know, heart, desire, emotion. Yeah. That's what the game of hockey is about, and that's what life's about. And like I said before, character people go out and find character players, and we go out, and that's probably the biggest thing that we look at is, does the guy have character? Does he have heart? And then you look with the way the game's going is the speed. You know, we want guys that play with energy, guys that play with passion, and guys that can set the pace and put players and teams on their heels. And I think when I got here the first year and I watched the Brooks Bandits, and I remember talking to the coaches, and then the second year when I came here, I said, this hockey club's success doesn't start until when we go through Brooks. We have to beat the Brooks Bandits. And that's what our goal was, last year and this year. And, we beat Brooks. We're in a great series. They're a really good hockey club. They're well coached. And we just, we got to that stage, and now we've obtained that, for the South Final. And now we're playing for the finals for the Alberta Junior Hockey League. And it's going to be a tough grind for our hockey club, but I believe in every one of those players that's in that dressing room. I think we're going to battle. We're going to have some success before this series is over.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the great battles with Brooks over the years, it's always, it was always kind of circled for people up in the north. Oh, we can't wait to watch Brooks at Okotoks, and you guys get over the hump this year. Okay, Game 3 tonight. You've kind of got on to the keys, not only for tonight but the rest of the series. It's going to be a bit of an emotional night with the team paying tribute to former Saints Parker Tobin and Connor Lucan that unfortunately lost their lives in that Humboldt Broncos bus crash. You guys did a terrific job to start the series in honoring that team. I want to ask you your thoughts on just how the entire, not only the hockey community, but just everyone has really rallied and shared their support for that hockey franchise that certainly no one wishes ever happened. And it's just amazing to see the pouring of support that not only we've seen in Western Canada but all over the globe.
It's probably a parent's worst nightmare. I know I had a son that played junior hockey and played pro, and they get on the bus. I got on those buses, riding the buses, Western Canada down the States, and there's times when ooh, that was close and all that, and you always think about it. And what happened in Humboldt is probably the worst thing that's ever happened to the hockey world, and I know it's the worst thing that ever happened. And it's not just something that happened in Humboldt or something happened in Saskatchewan Junior. It happened to the hockey world, and the hockey world is a very small community. And what the hockey people are doing worldwide, it doesn't surprise me. But the emotion that everybody showed is, like our hockey club, 2 days after the accident, we had to get on a bus and go to Brooks and battle them. And I stood at the door of the bus, and nobody wanted to get on that bus, and I would drive them, type thing. So it's emotional. I feel for every parent on that Humboldt Bronco Hockey Club, because I know I've been on those buses. I've phoned my son, on long trips, did you make it home and all that, and everybody does that. And it's something that, like the Swift Current in 1987, my first year of scouting, the National Hockey League, and I remember that day, like Creasy, Kruger, Manteca, and Ruff. I'll never forget anyone. Every time I used to go in the Swift Current arena in the lobby at the far end, they got the clover, the 4 green clover there, and it's, and I, just the other day, Bob Wilkie was on that bus, played for that hockey club, and the two of us talked probably for an hour and a half at the game. We missed a lot of the plays, but just the two of us talking about what happened, and Bob Wilkie being in Humboldt there with the players, and probably the worst word, experience. Having experienced that, and his knowledge and wisdom, and just the character that Bob Wilkie has, that able to talk to the families in Humboldt, and it's unfortunate, it's sad, and I hope it never happens again. But it's something that these players here, in their junior days, they're gonna. Yeah, we won a championship. Oh, but that was the year of Humboldt, and Humboldt. And I guess the best thing is we always say in the last week or so, Humboldt strong, hockey strong.
Yeah, no, absolutely right, and certainly we can just open our arms for everyone to lean on for support. And a guy like Chris Van Shaw, who's certainly affected by the tragedy, he's using hockey to help him get over it. He's having one heck of a series. You guys want to try and silence him. We summed up the Game 3. Maybe in just a few words, how does the Okotoks Oilers get on the board in this series here tonight in Spruce Grove?
We have to come out hard right off the bat. We have to get some energy. Getting the first goal probably help relax our hockey club and gain some confidence for us. And we have to play a 60-minute game. We've had really good stretches. We've had really good periods. We've had some letdowns that we probably want back. So we just have to play consistent 60 minutes. We have to play with lots of energy. We've got to use our speed because the hockey club we're playing tonight has lots of speed and skill. They got a great back end. Nolan Kent, their goalie's been playing very well. So we talked about Riley Morris, and both goaltenders are probably the top 2 goalies in the league. Both teams have really good defense. Both teams have lots of speed up front, special teams that minimize our mistakes and just keep battling for 60 minutes.
Yeah, it should be an exciting one, and I know there's a lot of fans coming in. We got to thank Rob Sklaruk of the Spruce Grove Saints, the GM, for allowing us to use the lounge. As I think we're getting the boot here, Brad, because fans are itching to get in, watch some Stanley Cup playoffs, and have a cold one. But thanks a lot for taking the time before a big game as your organization tries to capture their first title and get back in this series. And thanks for really, I mean, we could do an hour of this sharing your wisdom and knowledge, not only about the game of hockey, but it seems some good life lessons as well. So Brad, thanks a lot for joining us here on the Canalta Hotels AJHL Coaches Show. Good luck the rest of the way as you guys try to track down the Inter Pipeline Championship.
Thanks, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.